What if everything you knew about SpongeBob SquarePants suddenly changed? What if, after years of chaos, cones, and crashing through Mrs. Puff's classroom walls, SpongeBob actually passed his boating exam? Imagine Bikini Bottom with SpongeBob behind the wheel. No more bus rides, no more begging Patrick for a lift, just SpongeBob, a shiny license, and the open sea road ahead. Would life finally get easier for him, or would the city fall into total underwater madness? In this alternate storyline, we explore the moment that never happened in the show, but what if it did? This is What If SpongeBob Passed His Boat Exam? It was just another typical morning at Mrs. Puff's boating school. SpongeBob skipped through the gates carrying a folder stuffed with flashcards, 2 lucky sponges in his socks, and a bottle labeled brain juice, pineapple flavored. Inside the classroom, the students groaned when he walked in. "Morning, friends, ready to watch me pass this time?" SpongeBob beamed, eyes wide with optimism. Mrs. Puff sighed as she reviewed her clipboard. "SpongeBob, this is your 1058th test. Please just try not to break anything." The driving test began. SpongeBob sat down in the simulator boat with unusual calm. He took a deep breath, cracked his knuckles, and said softly, "I am one with the wheel." Miraculously, he cruised forward without hitting the cone. No screeching, no explosions, no screaming test dummy. Mrs. Puff watched, frozen. He navigated left turns, reverse parking, and even a simulated jellyfish crossing. At the final stop sign, he gently eased on the brakes and came to a perfect textbook-compliant stop. The screen flashed "Pass" in big green letters. Mrs. Puff blinked. You passed." Confetti burst from SpongeBob's pockets. "I did it!" He sprinted around the course, hugging the cones and crying happy tears. "I'm a real boater now. I can drive, I can merge, I can parallel park next to a giant clam." Even the test dummy looked surprised. As Mrs. Puff shakily handed him the license, she muttered, "This changes everything." Cue a triumphant music sting and SpongeBob posing with his brand new laminated boating license, light gleaming off of it like a legendary artifact. Outside the classroom, a crowd of fish cheered. A reporter fish yelled, "This is historic," and SpongeBob waved like a pageant winner. He had finally done it. But what no one realized was how Bikini Bottom would never be the same again. The very next morning, SpongeBob burst out of his pineapple house, holding his license high like a golden ticket. "Look out, Bikini Bottom, there's a new driver in town." Within hours, he bought his dream boatmobile from the Wacky Wavy Boat Lot, a sparkling yellow convertible with jellyfish net rims, spatula-shaped mirrors, and bubble exhaust pipes. The salesfish handed him the keys with trembling fins. Good luck. He named it the Paddy Wagon 2.0, sleeker, shinier, and loaded with a salsa mode that made the windshield wipers dance. First stop, the Krusty Krab. He crashed gently through the front door. Not on purpose, just excitement. "Mr. Krabs, Squidward, look!" He held up his license. Squidward raised an eyebrow. "Great, now you can drive me insane. Faster." Mr. Krabs took one look at the license, then at the dented boat parked on top of a coral bench. Maybe don't park so close to the fryer next time, lad." SpongeBob didn't care. He was living the dream. Next stop, Patrick's Rock. "Patrick, hop in!" SpongeBob shouted. Patrick poked his head out with toothpaste still on his face. "Do I need pants for this?" Moments later, they were cruising through jellyfish fields, windows down, radio blasting sea shanties. SpongeBob waved at every fish they passed. He drove Patrick to Goofy Goobers, then the mall, then back to Goofy Goobers because Patrick left his shoe there. Later that day, he gave Sandy a ride to the Science Dome. "This boat's got power," she said, holding onto the dashboard as SpongeBob drove in slow motion through a puddle just to see it splash. "I've got a license now. I can take you anywhere." At red lights, he practiced his cool driver poses. At green lights, he forgot he was supposed to go, but no matter how clunky, it was all thrilling. SpongeBob even visited Mrs. Puff, just to say hi. She nervously peeked out from behind a curtain and ducked back inside. By the end of the day, SpongeBob had been everywhere twice and washed the Paddy Wagon 2.0 4 times. He stood outside his house that night, arms crossed proudly, looking at his boat under the moonlight. "I'm not just a fry cook anymore," he whispered. "I'm a licensed sponge." Cue dramatic music and a bubble wipe to black. At first, Bikini Bottom loved seeing SpongeBob behind the wheel. He was cheerful, friendly, cautious to a fault. He even waved at every single pedestrian, sometimes twice. But as the days rolled on, something started to change. SpongeBob was getting bold. He began modifying the Paddy Wagon 2.0 with add-ons no one asked for, bubble cannons on the sides, a jellyfish horn that screamed Beepalooza every time he tapped it, and a retractable license plate that flipped between iDrive safe and slow down for sea cucumbers. Then he installed a glowing button labeled Chaos Mode. He had no idea what it did, but of course he pressed it. First came the friendly races. SpongeBob would pull up next to innocent drivers and shout, "Winner gets extra tartar sauce," before flooring it at 9 miles per hour. He tried to drift around a corner near Bargain Mart and ended up inside a shopping cart return. Things got real when he nearly parked on a coral reef wedding. The priest had to pause the vows while SpongeBob reversed out, yelling, "Sorry, is this not the parking lot?" The town grew uneasy. Then came the Mrs. Puff incident. One sunny afternoon, she was driving peacefully home from the grocery store when SpongeBob zoomed past her doing zigzags through traffic cones, with Patrick on the roof holding a fishing net like a cowboy. Startled, Mrs. Puff veered off the road and straight into a statue of Neptune. Her chips flew everywhere. Later that night, she filed an official report with the Bikini Bottom DMV. He passed legally, but drives like he's in a bathtub commercial. The next morning, SpongeBob volunteered to drive a group of senior fish from the community center to the clam market. Seemed innocent enough. By the end of the trip, one lost their dentures in the glove box. One believed she'd traveled through time. The rest demanded jetpacks home. Even Squidward wasn't safe. SpongeBob tried practicing tight turning control in front of Squidward's house. He knocked over his mailbox, then backed over it again, then taped it back together with Krabby Patty wrappers and left it a sympathy card. Squidward didn't speak for 36 hours, just stared at the sky and muttered, "He has a license. This is the end." The news picked up the story. SpongeBob SquarePants licensed to shill. The Bubble Mobile Bandit strikes again. Mrs. Puff moves to undisclosed cave. Even Mr. Krabs started making SpongeBob Park 3 blocks away from the Krusty Krab. Patrick, too, began questioning things after SpongeBob drove straight through a jellyfish picnic while yelling "shortcut." Patrick whispered, "Maybe we should take the bus next time?" But SpongeBob just laughed. "Patrick, I've got a license. That means I know what I'm doing." He smiled wide, but inside, for the first time, he wasn't so sure. After days of honking incidents, traffic complaints, and Squidward writing SpongeBob must be stopped in sidewalk chalk, SpongeBob knew he needed to turn things around. At the Krusty Krab, while scrubbing ketchup off the ceiling, don't ask, he saw it. A seaweed flyer fluttered in through the window and stuck to the fryer. Annual Bikini Bottom Boat Off. Open entry. Compete for the Coral Trophy and a year's supply of Kelp Cola. SpongeBob's eyes sparkled. "This is my moment. I'll show everyone I can drive. Not just legally, but like a champion." He raced home, nearly running over his own welcome mat. Patrick, lounging in a lawn chair, looked up. "Are we being attacked?" "No, buddy," SpongeBob beamed. "We're entering a race." Patrick jumped up, dibs on Snack Patrol. The next 2 days were a flurry of questionable upgrades. Patrick hot-glued foam fins onto the boat and added a pickle launcher for offensive defense. SpongeBob polished the Paddy Wagon 2.0 until its hood reflected the moon. Sandy swung by with a wrench in hand. "SpongeBob, I heard you're racing. You sure you're ready? Last week you reverse parked into your own mailbox." "Exactly," SpongeBob grinned. "I've learned from my mistakes. Calm, focused, and fully certified." She looked at him unconvinced. "Well, just don't let your spongy head get too big." Race day arrived. The Coral Speedway buzzed with excitement. Boats lined up at the starting line. A fire-powered hover raft, a jellyfish-shaped dragster, even a fish driving a bathtub with a spoiler. Crowds filled the bleachers. Squidward reluctantly bought popcorn, muttering, "Better than watching him crash into my mailbox again." SpongeBob pulled up to the line in Paddy Wagon 2.0, now equipped with disco fog lights and a horn that played C-Funk music. Patrick waved a foam finger from the pit area. Sandy stood by, arms crossed, shaking her head. The announcer boomed, "Welcome, racers. Remember, it's not about winning, unless you want to win. On your marks, get set, go." Engines roared. Boats zoomed off. SpongeBob launched forward, bubble exhaust streaming behind him. He nailed the first turn, weaved past coral cones, and even avoided a rogue jellyfish with a perfect swerve. He was doing it, really doing it. Lap 1, smooth. Lap 2, graceful. Midway through lap 3, trouble. A turbo-powered pufferfish racer edged past him. SpongeBob's confidence cracked. He gripped the wheel. No, I didn't come this far to lose. He looked down at the glowing red button he promised Sandy he'd never use. Chaos mode armed. He slammed it. Music blared. The boat lit up like a jellyfish rave. Cannons fired pickle slices. A voice shouted, "Unnecessary speed activated." The boat went wild. It spun, flipped, barrel rolled through the crowd. SpongeBob screamed as he flew off the course, bounced off a dune, and crashed directly into a cotton candy coral sculpture shaped like Neptune's beard. A massive puff of pink smoke erupted. Silence. The announcer cleared his throat. That's a DNF, folks. Did not finish. The crowd gasped. Sandy stared. Patrick dropped his snack bag. Mrs. Puff, watching from her storm shelter, slowly pulled the blanket over her head. SpongeBob stumbled out of the wreckage. His racing goggles cracked and lopsided. Small sea turtle racer rolled up beside him. Cool lights. Maybe next time, drive the boat instead of flying it? SpongeBob didn't answer. He reached into his vest and pulled out his boating license. It was bent, smudged, one corner melted. He looked at it for a long moment. Quietly, he put it away and walked toward the bleachers without a word. The Paddy Wagon 2.0 sat in a crooked pile of wheels, kelp, and pickles. That night, for the first time since getting his license, SpongeBob didn't dream about driving. He dreamed about crashing and waking up, wishing he could go back to the classroom. The day after the big race, Bikini Bottom was buzzing, but not with celebration. The front page of the newspaper read, "SpongeBob wrecks race, chaos mode blamed." Below the headline was a photo of SpongeBob's boat upside down with a pickle sticking out of the steering wheel. Back at home, SpongeBob sat at his breakfast table in silence. The usual joy, jellyfish jam toast and morning accordion music, was gone. He stared blankly at the toast while Gary licked pickle residue off the table. Ding dong. At the door stood a square-faced fish in a crisp uniform. DMV official, clipboard in one hand, envelope in the other. SquarePants, SpongeBob blinked. Yes, that's me. You're being issued an official notice from the Bikini Bottom Department of Marine Vehicles. Due to multiple driving violations, reckless use of unauthorized boat modifications, and public endangerment at a licensed event. The fish cleared his throat. Your license is hereby revoked. He handed SpongeBob the envelope and turned to leave. You may reapply after taking a certified refresher course and maybe therapy. The door shut with a quiet thud. SpongeBob opened the letter. Inside was his license, now stamped in red, revoked. He stared at it, heart sinking. I failed. Gary meowed gently and nudged the letter away. Later that day, SpongeBob dragged the wrecked Paddy Wagon 2.0 into the garage. He tossed the glowing Chaos Mode button in the trash. His bubble cannon sputtered and fell off as he walked away. That evening at the Krusty Krab, he moved slower than usual. No singing, no spatula flips. Even Mr. Krabs noticed. You all right, lad? He asked, counting money but half watching. I lost my license, SpongeBob muttered. I thought passing the test meant I was ready, but I wasn't. Squidward smirked. Called it. SpongeBob turned toward the window and sighed. I think I need help. The next morning, he stood at the gates of Mrs. Puff's boating school. Again. The sign read, next class, beginners welcome, yes, even you. He walked in holding a notebook, goggles, and a bag of kelp jerky. Mrs. Puff saw him through the window. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Not again, she whispered, bracing herself. But when SpongeBob entered, he didn't barge in or yell. He walked calmly, sat down in the front row, and opened his notebook. Mrs. Puff, he said softly, I'd like to start over. The right way this time. Mrs. Puff blinked, then slowly she nodded. No chaos buttons, she asked. No chaos buttons, he promised. The bell rang, class began, and for the first time in a long time, SpongeBob listened. SpongeBob didn't bring flashcards stacked to the ceiling. No emergency confetti, no backup cupcakes labeled celebration fuel. He brought only a pencil, a notebook, and a calm attitude. He sat quietly during lectures, took notes, and, shockingly, didn't shout, I'm ready, every 3 seconds. The other students weren't sure whether to be proud or worried. Mrs. Puff, though still nervous, began to notice. He wasn't just participating, he was learning. During parking drills, he waited his turn. During traffic simulations, he asked thoughtful questions. What's the safest way to merge when a jellyfish storms ahead? Mrs. Puff paused. That's actually a great question. The biggest change wasn't in his driving, it was in his attitude. He no longer tried to impress everyone. He no longer saw the license as a trophy. He treated it like a responsibility. something earned through patience, not just passing a test. Outside of class, SpongeBob returned to biking and walking. He carried groceries in a wagon. He even picked up Squidward's lunch order and walked it to his house. Squidward opened the door suspiciously. "Where's the flaming boat?" "No boat today," SpongeBob said cheerfully. "I'm working on my walking speed now." Squidward slowly shut the door and mumbled, "That's oddly terrifying." Weeks passed. Sandy stopped by to check on him. She watched him practice parallel parking between two giant sea pumpkins with slow, careful moves. "I gotta admit, SpongeBob," she said, "you've mellowed out." "Thanks," he smiled. "Turns out getting something too fast doesn't always mean you're ready for it." She nodded, tossing him a kelp bar. "Now that's the kind of wisdom I can get behind." Finally, the day came. His retest. Class gathered. Mrs. Puff had prepared 3 obstacle courses, a mock traffic jam, and an emergency jellyfish protocol segment. SpongeBob took a deep breath and climbed into the practice boat. He didn't panic. He didn't oversteer. He didn't hit a single cone. At the final stop sign, he came to a clean, perfect stop. Silence. Then Mrs. Puff clapped. "Well done, SpongeBob. That was controlled, safe, legal." SpongeBob grinned. "So, I passed?" Mrs. Puff looked him in the eye. "Not yet, but that was the best first step I've seen." He smiled wider. "That's okay. I'm not in a rush this time." As the sun set over Bikini Bottom, SpongeBob and Patrick strolled down Jellyfish Way, helmets on, jelly donuts in hand, talking about absolutely nothing and everything at once. "Did you win?" Patrick asked through a mouthful of frosting. "Not yet," SpongeBob replied, "but I'm learning how to do it right." Patrick nodded, crumbs falling out of his mouth. "Cool. Can I still ride on the roof when you pass again?" "We'll see." SpongeBob laughed. "Maybe just the passenger seat next time." Behind them, far in the distance, the Paddy Wagon 2.0 sat quietly in SpongeBob's garage. The lights were off, the engine was silent, and for once that felt okay. Inside the garage, a small hand-painted sign hung on the wall above the boat. "Earn it, don't rush it." Somewhere in town, Mrs. Puff finally got a full night's sleep. If you enjoyed this expanded look at what if SpongeBob passed his boat exam, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more what if scenarios. Let us know what other SpongeBob questions you'd like us to explore next.